You are listening to bangradio.net.
What's happening, guys? Steve Maida here with Venusian Arts and Bang Radio, episode number 66. This is a badass episode, and actually how this episode starts is a way that you guys should all start the journey. Somebody emailed me at steve@venusianarts.com. They were saying, hey, I want to check out the VA Evolve program. I let him on the program, and actually was an Empowered Man customer. If you go to venusianarts.com, you go to the shop, you can check out those different products. But VA Evolve is a program where we talk about some really specific stuff. We work as a men's group. We meet multiple times a week and follow a course, actually, a criteria of different things on how to be social, how to be sexual, improve ourselves as men, and to be the best version of ourselves. And this is what this guy's asking. He's saying, hey, look, I've been dating women, but I want to date better women. I've been dating women, but their personalities don't match. Our sex lives don't match. And I can't connect. Am I shallow for really, kind of like demanding the best? And sometimes he has to be kind of harsh with these girls. That's what happens. But guess what? You're not shallow. That's part of being a sexual man. And there's a good way to do it. There's a bad way to do it. And there's a way to do it that will allow you, and really the only way to allow you to have a great social life, a great sexual life, to where you truly are empowered for that. That is what this new face of Venusian Arts is all about. That's what I am here for. That's what the 11 instructors that we have on our staff are for. And so let's do this. Let's change this. Let's reshape this to where, meeting women is really a necessity of being the better man. Being sexual as a man is a necessity of your expression. That is what the new Venusian Artist is about. That is where I am taking it. Check out VA Evolve. Check out the Empowered Man products. Go to the Venusian Arts forum and interact with me. And if you have any questions, steve@venusianarts.com. Let's live the social dynamic to be the better man. New blood, somebody who had bought the Better Man's Guide, which is a 9-part audio series, and said, man, I'm a fan of what you guys do at TSL and all that sort of stuff. And Steve, you've been kicking ass. Well, look, let me tell you something. Here's what you're going to find out. Is that TSL, it is not just me. I mean, in fact, the Better Man's Guide, you heard Jim talking about that. Jim could have answered all those questions. He just knew the right questions to ask. You have no idea how much these guys are this thing. I just somehow have put my face out there and, make it my business and all this other sort of stuff. But when you really get into it, some people resonate with me. Some people resonate with Jim more. Some people resonate with Gary or whoever else, is interacting on the calls. But the thing is that it all works together under these things that we believe in. And as you heard on the previous call, we all have problems, man. There's a lot of shit that I don't know. Sometimes, we run into different things, but as a group, we really stick around. We're all equals. I did create a lot of this stuff, so I have my opinion about it. But we all work in this pretty awesome way. So let me just give credit where credit is due. I did not do this thing all by myself. I kind of wanted to and maybe had a slight vision for it, but Jesus Christ, man. Anyway, that's the reality of the truth. So we had a question from somebody who had bought the Better Man's Guide, which is awesome. New people asking new questions, badass stuff. And here's the deal. He says, man, he's been dating some people, upper 20s, dating women in their upper 20s, early 30s, all around the range. But it's like, hey, man, I've been on Tinder, and I've been, which is like the hookup app. And I Tinder was before my time playing the field, because the last 2 years I've been locked down, but ton of people are using it, and I kind of get the idea of it, and I've done plenty of online stuff, and I'm actually really fucking good at that. But Tinder is just a lot easier, and everybody says, game is dead and Tinder killed it, or who needs pickup anymore because there's Tinder. And the fact of the matter is especially now, this isn't only if you're a good looking guy, but especially if you're a good looking guy, man, you can kill it on here. So he said, look, I keep meeting these girls, they're great, they're cool. We didn't really get to this, but it kind of seems like, sometimes we hook up, sometimes we don't. It's not that I don't have a problem with meeting women or sex. It's that I have a problem with meeting women that have substance, meeting women that have, something else going on. And I just want to, kick them to the curb when I find out that, just stop returning their calls and do all that sort of stuff. And it's really funny, because It was like, man, am I shallow? And that's what we say when we're in those modes because we're guys. Because guys don't really have that experience. I think every girl that is, pretty attractive has that experience, for a certain part of their life, hopefully a long part of their life, where they get a lot of attention from guys and, have to be an asshole or have to turn guys down. They got to break some hearts, all that sort of stuff. But as a guy, we don't often have that kind of exposure. And right now, the dude's got that kind of exposure. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, people think you're a pretty good looking guy, that you're a guy that would be like, hey, this is a guy, like a girl might say, I want to fuck this guy. And a lot of times guys never think of that of themselves. But, if girls are making the moves on you, you can kind of assume that about yourself. Right. And the thing is that's the dream for every man. Right. But then when it's your reality, you want more. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier on the previous call. When we are in the mode of dating, seduction, relationships, even talking to people, making friends. So all of that, and really, I really believe this, being social and being open with people is the window to mental health, is the window to you, just being in that normal fluid mode of expression. And when there's something out of whack, it's very hard to be that or to have that. And attraction, seduction, friendship, connection in all of its forms has a mental component, an emotional component, a physical component, a sexual component. There's all these different aspects to communicating and how we communicate with one another that need to be fulfilled. And guess what? You have uniquenesses in those areas as well. And so, fuck yeah, man. You're not shallow. God, you're doing what everybody has to do when they just have that much exposure and attention. Now, what you got to do is learn how to communicate, qualify, and be a little bit more selective about things. It's kind of like you got that hot chick problem. You're like Jim, you're a hot blonde. But you got that problem to where you now have to learn how to qualify and express yourself and say what you want and give these girls a little bit of an extra step to see what the hell's going on. And I'll tell you this, man, sometimes we just don't match, right? But I do believe that with every single person on the planet, we can match. Now, here's the deal. I've had plenty of bad relationships where, I become a bad person, they become a bad person, and everything gets all fucked up when we're in a relationship together. And it's probably best that we do not match for now. But I really believe, and, I've met or had relationships with some people where we would both probably say we're like the worst people in the world. But I really believe that person, just, can be good and match with somebody else, but it just ain't me. So the thing is we got to go to our values. And this is one of the things that we found in the Better Man's Guide in lesson 2, the rapport deal. And we talk about it a little bit. Well, we talk about it throughout the whole thing because we need to, number one, explore ourselves and then learn to communicate that. So step 1, explore ourselves. We do that through the identity workbook. If you shoot me an email, I can email that to you. And, it's a pretty cool deal. Basically, we go through our self-perception, how we perceive ourselves, the good and the bad, our social perception, how we think others perceive us, the good and the bad, and then what's attraction, what's attractive to us, what's attractive about us, explore it. Our careers, our wants, our desires, our passions, our family life. We just really go through a good understanding of who we are and what we want. Then the rest of what we learn in TSL is how can we communicate that? And then what do we learn from that? So if we explore ourselves, that's key. And look, the identity workbook, badass way to do it. But let's just even start now. It's like, what do I want with the women? What do I like? What did I like about the hot broad that just kind of like, was some bimbo or whatever, and I couldn't even connect with her, but she wanted to fuck me? What do I like about the girl that doesn't pay attention to me, that is missing? What do I like about the fantasy of what I want? and really explore those things. And I'll tell you this is a trip, and I'm saying this quite loudly, but, uh, Maria is a very tall woman, very beautiful, everything, really the total package. I mean, I get everything that is awesome, you know, hot girl. I'll tell you what, that stops mattering in the like, I'm dating a 10 by society standards, pretty much like after the first week or so of boning each other. But you still like to see her beauty as it is, walking around the house and her femininity, but it's different. It's different. It is definitely different. Um, and she does all this cool stuff. She cooks. Just great, 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 great woman. But all of a sudden, I go, you know what? There's a girl that isn't 6 feet tall, that's 5 foot. There's a spinner. Look at those legs. Look at those tits. Look at those lips. They're different. I want to fuck them. I want man, Jesus Christ. Or, I'll go on some tear watching porn and I'll be like, holy shit, look at that. And what's interesting is that all comes from the want. Now, the want isn't reality, and let's not, I can get really like philosophical and out in space on this, but man, if I want to fuck something, that doesn't actually equate to what I enjoy sexually. And I've proven this to myself over and over again throughout the years of whatever relationships. So my want and my desire and my urge is definitely telling me something, but I need to get in touch with it. Why do I want it? Why do I want that? Why do I want this sort of emotional connection? Why do I want this sort of physical connection? Why do I want this diversity in emotions, in mentality, in lifestyle? And then you could even go a little bit deeper to what is it about me, that would be fulfilled by this, or what could I offer to this, or what would be completed by this? And we look at it. And man, we're probably not going to get the answer from looking at that and exploring it or asking ourselves that. I prefer to write stuff down. But what we get from that is the beginning of a relationship with ourselves. And guess what you can do once you've asked all these questions and think about them? Like, just to review off the top of my head what they were, is like, what do I want from a girl that I'm getting? What is satisfying? What isn't satisfying? What do I wish for? What do I desire for? What do I think I'm missing? What would be fulfilling? What would complete me? If I start asking those questions, guess what? If I've answered it myself and I know them, then on the girls that I date on Tinder, I could say, hey, look, you could start doing the hot chick thing. So you guys text back and forth, whatever, da 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 da. And you could start even teasing and saying, you're probably one of those girls that just wants to use me for my body. Jeez, where'd you learn your manners? You can start saying stuff that women say. I don't want to be treated that way. You don't even know who I am. But and you can say it in a joking way or whatever. But all those things you could put out there. But here's the cool deal. You'd say, hey, but look, before I go on a date, let me ask you something. What is the hottest thing about a guy? What is attractive? You can start asking these questions that you just asked yourself and hopefully answered. What is it that you're really looking for? Now, when people ask you that, they're like, shit, I'm not ready to answer that question. But they don't need to answer it in a way that they think is the right way. They need to answer it in the way that you mean it. And you're like, well, look, I meet a lot of people on Tinder. A lot of people want to talk to me, and I just want to have good conversations with good people. So I like some people with some substance. So what is it that you really look for in life? What is it that you look for with hanging out with people? Tell me about yourself. And so put that out there, and look, you're going to have some drop off. What does a good skilled woman know what to do? That's the crazy thing, is this guy who did a podcast with me today. He actually did a podcast himself, which we talked about on his podcast, or like a kind of an Ask Ted episode, which is what he has. But he says that women have it harder when it comes to dating. Men have it easy. And actually, it was really cool. Men, he says, well, he didn't necessarily say this, but I kind of put it in these terms, but Men tend to appreciate, and women have like a 10-year badass run and the game changes. Don't get me wrong, the game changes for men too, but women have this huge influx of attention from, let's say, 20 to 30 or whatever the age range is. But men get a slow start. 20 kind of sucks. 30 might start to pick up, but then as they get older, they can keep going. Now, they also do slow down physically and all that sort of stuff. But man, he was talking about this. But the thing is a hot woman will have to learn at some point how to sift out the bullshit of men. And you could actually say this to women. You can say, oh, well, you're hot. Like, I bet you attract a lot of guys that are really confident and, have like a good front. But man, when you talk to them, or actually it's not when you talk to them. When you talk to them, they're badasses. But as soon as you get physical with them, as soon as you get intimate, they turn into pussies. And they become worse and more needy than all these other guys who are just acting like normal, nice guys. And man, I just want to know, like, why can't you? What is it about it that makes it so difficult to find a good guy? Is it you or is it them? And so in that rapport cycle, so to speak, question, ground, question, I'm basically angling it to target their femininity so I could talk about that. What about your femininity is not attracting the right guy? So in your situation, you could say the same thing. Say, oh, whatever. Are you one of those Tinder party girls that just wants to hang out and, have some like cool dude on your arm for the night? Like, oh, you got to send me a better first message than that, or whatever. Start out in some slow, kind of gamey way, as those sound, but not for like the social value reason, but some sort of slow way of calibrating what's going on. But then that's all to set up the bigger questions. Is like, well, look, who are you? I meet a lot of people on here and I wish I could get to know them all, but I can only talk to the ones that I get to know. Tell me something about yourself. Where are you from? I just moved here. I was from X, Y, and Z. I've had this job for the last 6 years or whatever it is, and talk to them about what is their meaning based on you and get that out of there. And the thing is man, every guy loves fucking. Every guy, it's like, hey man, this chick's hot. I want to bone her. I want to fuck her. But and this is what people don't understand, is that, when a dude that's not getting laid is like, fuck that, I'll do it. Or I remember some guy posted on my Eric Everhard podcast, like, whatever, man, if there were a bunch of chicks there, I'd be ready to go to fuck them all in front of you guys, cameras and all. And I'm like, man, no, you wouldn't. Cause like, I know it's especially the guys that are saying that are the ones that can't do it. But we all, when we're in desperation, when we're not having sex, when we're not, fulfilled sexually, we're all going to say what we want or what we think we want. But when we start to become sexually satisfied, and that's different for everybody. Maybe you sleep with one girl that week. Maybe you sleep with two. Maybe you sleep with three. But for me, actually, this is a very high calibrated thing for myself, is that if I sleep with 4 different chicks in a month, I then start to get detached. So if I sleep with 4 to 5, 6, 7, or whatever, it becomes too difficult for me to like keep track of them, to like, I start mixing them up in bed, and it just stops feeling good for me. Now, if they're like 4 one-night stands that I'm never going to see again, but if I'm actually actively sleeping with 4 different chicks, it becomes like ridiculous for me. All right. And so that's where I need to start going, okay, how am I having a relationship with this person? How am I going to start dictating that? Do I want emotion? Who am I going to get emotion from? Who do I want to share that emotion with? Am I just wanting to fuck? Who am I going to do that with? And I need to start thinking and working in that direction and making that life that way. But man, bottom line is look, you're not shallow for thinking that way. You got a lot of exposure, dude. It's awesome. You got the hot chick problem. You need to start like getting in communication with yourself and thinking about what you want and how the fuck can I get the skill to communicate that. And until then, You're going to be like a hot chick. You're going to have all the attributes to attract women, or enough attributes to attract, the women that are cool in your life, but they're going to, man, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your masculinity, because ultimately they're not going to be the women you want. Um, those are the women that you end up chasing after, and they're not even what you want. They start shaping you, and then you think that your masculinity or your sense of self is not good enough to attract the women that you really deserve. You know, man, I'm so happy I'm in the relationship that I am in now, but I've had so many relationships, affairs, fallen in love, all that sort of stuff with women who are not even close to what I have now. That's not because they're bad, but for me and for them, it was not a good mix. So learn to communicate yourself, and man, some cool shit comes your way. And even if cool shit doesn't come your way, just know this: that's the only chance at cool shit coming your way. Do
Oh,
it. What were you saying
all
about
right.
qualification?
I thought we were talking about my ass.
That too.
I have a nice ass. Um, yeah, we do in the course of TSL have at least one lesson where we talk specifically about qualification. And the point of qualification is first to be able to assert yourself, right? You got to know who you are and what you want, and be able to communicate it. But the other half of it is to try to get a woman or the other person, let's say, um, to elicit them to reveal themselves. Um, there's two parts to that. I mean, first, are they going to be honest with you? And second, do they really have a clue about who they are and what they want? A lot of people don't, so even if they intend to be honest, they just really don't know what it is they want out of life. And I guess that's normal. You kind of, you're aiming pretty high to find somebody who truly understands themselves, at least the way that we do. Um, and I don't think you're being shallow unless you're being, let's use the word narrow. If you're being very narrow, that you have one or two criteria that you make the judgment based on, or if you have a particular appearance that you, if she's not 5'2" and long stringy blonde hair, you don't want anything to do with her. That's narrow, that's shallow. But as long as you're fairly open-minded about it, I don't think you're shallow. But this whole process of qualification is something that we look at and talk about, but it's very wide open. The one constant there is that you're willing to go first. You're willing to show yourself first in order to elicit her to come out and play. And from there, whatever reaction you're getting allows you to first guide the interaction, right? Decide what your next rapport cycle is going to be. Decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do. And from there to calibrate the relationship, the trajectory of the relationship. Who is this person? How are they going to fit into your life? Is this really a woman that you want to seduce, or is she going to end up being your lawyer? Don't fuck it up. Don't confuse the two. You could really get in trouble there.
Now, let me
just, basically where we go with qualification.
Yes, listen to Jim. But let me just state this, because this came in from Allison, and it was a remark for you, Jim, that I forgot to tell you about, but it came in on the 29th of September, and it says, "Hey, you guys, Hope you're well at Bang Radio. Just wanted to thank Jim for sharing his rant that was so touching and all about real life. I could identify with what you said. Every man I've connected with has brought healing into my life, especially the more challenging negative situations, which have helped me adjust behavior to create better experiences. So sorry to hear about your sister. I hope she stays in remission, and I'll keep her in my prayers. So, pretty cool feedback for you.
Oh, that's sweet of Allison. Yeah, she's got a long way to go before she's in remission. But see, women are our biggest fans. There are so many women out there. We notice the women who are man haters, right? We notice them. We pay attention to them. But there are so many other women like Allison who are really our biggest fans and who love and enjoy the company of a man, and it helps them to grow as women.
All right, good stuff, guys. Man, if you enjoyed what you heard there, don't forget to support Bang Radio on iTunes, man, or Stitcher, whatever you listen to. The episodes are actually a little bit different there, and we get into it, man. We put out 7 episodes a week so that you can, man, conveniently learn this stuff, so that you can get a sample, because the real stuff that you learn is going to be on either a VA bootcamp or it's going to be part of VA Evolve. That's, one of the greatest programs out there. I designed it. I've been running for 5 years, man. Countless guys have gone through it, and it's just an amazing experience where you will learn everything that you need to learn, and it's actually the best preparation for a workshop. Thank you guys so much for supporting this. This is an awesome dream and a fulfillment of mine to connect with this many people and to build a group of men that are amazing, that connect with me, that help my life, and we all help each other in this awesome circle called VA Evolve. All right, talk to you guys soon.